I would challenge everybody that even if it's not necessarily college, to take time away from your hometown to be experienced with different people, different cultures, different opinions, because whether you think they're valid or not, whether you think they're invalid or not, there is personal growth that takes place. And then you'll meet some people that you can make friends with your entire life. Most of the time, the people that you are friends with from, K through 8, K through 12, 85% of them you're not going to really talk to after you graduate from.
Right.
It's not
Right.
because of something mean. It's not because somebody did something. It's not because of a falling out. It's because life evolves in that direction. So,
Exactly.
so that's your second chapter. It doesn't have to be college. It can be create school. And I enjoyed my college experiences. It could be the military, right? Whatever this next stage of life is, don't think that that's the only thing that the world has to offer to you.
Right. Welcome home. Welcome back to War. We're all recovering. My guest today, Rashad Woods, founder and host of the T.R.O.N, T.R.O.N podcast, The Randomness of Nothing. When I heard that, man, I was like, that's my brain like most of the time.
Yeah.
The randomness of nothing, for real.
Yeah.
Rashad talks to entrepreneurs, creators, experts, and people from all different walks of life. He's from Michigan, my best friend from Michigan. He's from Lansing.
Bet.
And he's in the documentaries, history, movies, martial arts, and all the random things that make conversations go from funny to deep real fast.
Right.
So today, we are flipping the mic on him. Rashad, welcome to War. We're all recovering, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, it's honestly an honor and a pleasure, and it's weird being asked the questions because typically I have all these things that I'm ready to get, ready for, and now I gotta be, okay, I'm on the other side of the seat. So to your point, curiosity led me to you and to the platform of podcasting, and it's therapeutic for me.
Yes, I'm glad you said that because it's therapeutic for me. People ask why I do it. I'm like, oh, man, it's like a huge relief. It just feels so good.
Yes.
It's very therapeutic. That's why I love doing this,
Yes.
All right, so let's get into it, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely.
You host a show called The Randomness of Nothing. I love the name. Like I said, it makes me think of my brain, 2 a.m. in the morning or most of the time. It sounds funny, but it also sounds deeper than people might realize. Where did that name really come from?
Honestly, because I wasn't smart enough to pick one subject to talk about, right? So to your point that 2:00 in the morning, your head's spinning every single where, I'll go from watching a documentary on the tsunami in Asia that took place in the mid-2000s to, hearing about the Colossus of Rhodes, to how food was built in America, to watching X-Men 97, right? So I'm always, my mind, like being a geek in the 90s was like, man, what you like that for? And then for some reason in the last 10, 12 years, it became like, man, I really like that. I just couldn't really talk about that I like, right? Now with social media and podcasting and connecting with people, I grew, it's more of a normal thing to do and dive into. I had a encyclopedia set in my room as a kid with me and my older brother. So I always would be like, what's this made? How was this about? Where's this location? And your mind got transported without visuals or with limited visuals. And then as the internet, it was like, my God, all these places and things are available at my disposal. I'm a kid in a candy store, right?
Yeah. I love that because most people act like randomness is a bad thing,
It's funny because you can be curious as a kid and you always encourage young kids to ask questions, but then as an adult, you're supposed to turn that thing off, right? And so then it becomes kind of frowned upon. Why is that person always asking things? But you can get what I call zip coded in life, which means that your world is your zip code. It's the same street, the same stores, the same restaurants. You do the same exact thing every single day. And for some reason, your world gets much smaller. Right? You mentioned your dog. Well, your dog, what's the first time you open that gate or that door? Boom, goes right out.
He does it all the time.
Yeah. Because you're confined. And so then people, they get in that routine. Well, I'm only this in life. I'll never learn more of this. But the way that the internet and, platforms that we're recording on right now, it's democratized that process. So you have to go out and seek it.
Yeah. And I like when you said it transports you, it was transporting you. And I feel like, when you said that, randomness is kind of where the truth comes out,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
know?
Yeah.
So I love the whole random thing.
Yeah, you have an opportunity to, there's enough things that have already been established, that have been written, that have been verified, and that you can't, I don't do politics, but whatever people think didn't or didn't happen, there's enough verifiable proof that the absolute truth does exist, right? But what there are also aspects of is you can also discover other people. I've talked to fictional authors, right? Authors that do historical fiction. You have to get the history of it right, even if you create fictitious characters within it. So that involves doing history. Did that pen exist? Did that typewriter exist? Did that stagecoach exist? Because there's somebody who's watching or reading that knows all that information. Right. And so you have to do your homework. Even if you're watching like a regular TV show or a movie, you could be watching, I'm not sure what you watch, but let's say you watch like 1923 on Paramount. There's a historian that's watching 1923 right now that's like, nope, that lapel didn't exist. Nope, they didn't ride horses. Nope, that leather boot, they didn't have that. So, but that's the beauty of learning about how things operate and function.
It's funny you said Paramount, bro, because I went on this morning to watch some Paramount. I wake up
Yeah.
super early
Yeah.
and my subscription expires. So I gotta I was pissed off. But somebody told me about 1923. I gotta tap
Yeah.
into that.
It's a really, really good show. Lately I'm a big, I jump all over the place, but there's something where Westerns and where, old school stuff where there wasn't a lot of special effects and people have to have dialogue, kind of the Clint Eastwood kind of character, so to speak.
Yeah.
That it kind of, it doesn't get a lot of attention now, but then it had monster ratings when it came out because sometimes people don't know they're yearning for it until something comes out, so to speak,
Right,
right?
right.
And, like, I think sometimes people, particularly companies, they chase what they think people want while ignoring a very big audience right in front of them.
Yeah. You're right. And
Absolutely.
something else, man, before we move on, I was just thinking, with this whole random thing, I followed recently a page on my Instagram about random facts.
Yes.
And which I didn't know. I knew the earth has been extinct for this is something to think about. I knew the earth was extinct a few times. I just didn't know how
Hmm.
much. So the earth has been had a complete extinction 5 times, right?
Wow.
And we're actually in the 6th one right now. It's
That's
ongoing.
that's amazing. That's
So
amazing.
it's like what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like and humanity is doing it
Yeah.
to ourselves,
Absolutely.
So it's been causing me crazy anxiety. I'm like, it's
Yeah.
just my mind is just everywhere,
Yeah, because then you start to realize, like, okay, what life am I really living in at this exact moment, right? Right.
Right.
It's funny you were saying that, and obviously before we move on, I think of like sometimes people dismiss rappers, but like listen to like Wu-Tang, particularly like a Jizza, who's really, really deep on stuff like that, right? And
Yeah.
you'll be like, if you actually listen to those lyrics, like, like the basic instructions before leaving Earth, then you'll be like, wow, this guy gave a whole history
Yeah.
lesson just
Yeah.
in a rap verse, right? So we can't dismiss the source simply because they may make a medium that's, it's violent or it does. Like, no, listen to what this person just said.
Yeah.
They
It
did their
goes
history.
completely over people's head.
It absolutely does.
Yes. Cool. Some of the deepest conversations, man, happen when you stop trying to sound perfect and just
Yeah.
let people talk.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
appreciate this.
Yeah.
You
One time,
describe your yeah, go ahead.
no, just briefly, I remember I'll never forget a famous LL Cool J statement. He said, I've never embraced the complexity. He said, what's more complex, the Lord's Prayer or Totsky? And he was like, sometimes the most deepest thing is in the simplest of statements.
Right.
You know?
That's so true. And
Yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yeah. He said that in an interview once.
Okay, cool. So you describe yourself as someone who is always curious.
Yeah.
You are into documentaries like myself. That's my favorite thing to watch, man,
Yeah.
is documentaries. Like I could binge watch documentaries all day. Investigation Discovery,
Oh my goodness.
Netflix. I don't have anything to watch, bro. I don't have nothing else to watch. I watched all the documentaries, so you're gonna have to tell me
Yeah.
something, a
Yeah.
few of your
Yeah.
favorites, see if I haven't watched them yet. So
On
you into that? Go ahead.
No, I cut you. I'm the talker,
No,
man. Like,
you good, bro.
yeah,
I want to hear what you have to
you
say.
got my mind right there. So yeah, there's like a 5-part series on like Roku has some really good original ones themselves. right? The actual, like, if you have a Roku TV, they have like their own.
Bro, I'm sorry. I can't even this is funny. I have PTSD from Roku.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can't I like the font, the how it starts up, everything about Roku. I can't even see the TV in Walmart. It'll make me nauseous to my stomach.
You know, oof.
Yeah,
I,
bro.
I got to pick myself off the canvas from that one though.
Yeah, bro. I can't
Oh,
do it. I got rid of all my Roku TVs, bro. I
yeah.
stay far away from Roku. This is about you. I'll
No.
let you
Okay.
know about that story another
Yeah.
time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
That's
Yeah.
all. Well, I'm glad you're okay. So first of all,
Thank you. Thank you.
having said all that, there's a documentary on there specifically, which was about North Korea and how, like,
Mm,
how most people, like, to the average person, getting up, turning on television, walking outside, interacting with your smartphone is just a day to day, thing that we just do. Us
mm,
talking right now is not some, free, not some magical thing. We just turn on our internet and we have a good day. It's hard to imagine a world where you can't do that. So I did watch a documentary on North Korea. Like, how did this place become this prison cell from the rest of the world? And so,
mm,
there was a 4 or 5 part documentary series of basically, the Korean Peninsula. It was overtook by Japan. Then when World War II happened, they divided it along the parallel. I forgot what the name of the parallel is off the
I
top
know
of my
what you're
head.
talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I don't want to get it wrong on your show. And then, Russia and United States said, hey, we'll figure out this division of the North and the South half of it. Then the Cold War happened. And then because Russia owned the North end of it, it slowly started taking on more and more communist and totalitarian and dictatorship characteristics until it walled off that country completely from the rest of the world. Whereas the
Mm,
South became democratized, has high-tech companies, internet freedoms, and then you see, long story short, this portion of the world that for many people don't even know that there's another world that exists because they've made
mm.
themselves deities to their people. You've seen, people are
Yeah, yeah,
crying, worshiping their
yeah,
statues, and you're like, dude, this looks like some Magneto or
yeah,
X-Men,
yeah.
but it doesn't even seem real, right? And when you watch that and you see what those people are subjected to, you step back and say, it's always not that bad where I got it.
Now, is that in English or?
It's in English. It's in English. Yeah, they have like historians that have had some footage access to it. They show some footage. They show some things that are taking place inside of there. So they have enough footage and historical stuff from World War II and modern times. But it's amazing to even like try to wrap your mind around a place
Yeah,
like that exists.
I'm interested, but not
Yeah.
interested enough to get a Roku.
It might.
I'll see if it's on another.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna check after it.
I don't think it's produced by Roku. I think they just like had it in their library, so it's probably even on YouTube or
Okay,
something like that.
okay. I'll check Prime. Prime usually have
Oh,
everything.
yeah, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Okay. So with that, the documentaries, everything that you're into, you was talking about kind of being a geek or a nerd and
Hmm.
everything. You're into why people do what they do. Were you
Yeah.
always that type of kid or did life make you that way?
Well, it's funny. I was always the kid that was told to shut up in school, right? Like, just like the teachers were like,
Be
now
quiet.
I wasn't rude, right? Oh, for sure. I wasn't rude. I wasn't disrespectful, but they're like, man, this kid would stop asking all these questions. But I would always, and even like, it almost became a challenge for me. Like, if I was like, okay, if the teacher's telling me something, are what they telling me is true. So I would research it on my own. And then if they wanted, like, no, this actually was this place. And it would be kind of a pseudo debate, nothing evil, nothing mean, but it almost became like a battle of will. Be like, are you really telling me the truth or are you just giving me something? Because
Dangerous.
it's just the truth, right? Like, like, and so now it becomes, I sound like this is going to sound kind of corny to say this, but unless somebody actually asks me my opinion on something, I don't give it if I know that they're wrong on a topic. Because you can sound like that smart
Hmm.
ass,
Yeah.
that can, I don't do that. But if they're like, Rashad, what do you think? I'm like, well, actually, it's this instead. And if you're free to
Hmm.
look it up yourself, and that's fine. But, long story short, I was just always a guy that liked to look stuff up.
And you sound like you was one of them kids, turns into adult who asks questions nobody wants to answer or can't answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is it doesn't make for a very good social network growing up when you're I mean, I had good friends, right? But when you're trying to play basketball, when you're on the way to a track meet and they're like, "What shot? What do you think?" Like you bring up some random, "Hey, what do you think about how was the Kingdom of Hawaii built?" And they're like, "Dude, what the heck, man?" Like seriously, man. Like talk about like regular stuff like, I'm like it's just kind of how my brain is wired, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool, and you're in the right field because that's
Yeah.
actually podcasting, you
Yeah.
know?
It didn't make for a
So
very compelling date night, that's for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Did you ever see you probably like it, Stranger Things?
Of course. 100%,
Great, right?
150%. Great. Because anybody between the ages of 38 to 52 who grew up watching those Stephen King movie adaptations, Spielberg, James Cameron, you know, Goonies, all related to watching that show, right?
Yes, yes,
So it
yes.
was like it took you. I've talked about this ad nauseum with my older brother. I have an older brother who's 3.5 years older. There's something that's been lost in the purity of filmmaking, and it's movies and shows like that. There's no cell phones. Everything isn't instantaneous. Kids had to like figure out how things were on their own. They were, there's no geo tracking. There's no instant answer to something.
Yeah, yeah.
You have to use a map, right?
Mhm.
It get on your bicycle and figure things out as they go along, right? It's those little things that, even like a blockbuster, right? There's something
Mhm.
that's missed in being able on a Friday night to walk, ride your bike, stand in line, look at what the library catalog has to offer, take the
Mm.
movie home, sit with your family and do
Yes,
that. There there's a level of communication and interaction that has been lost because people don't do that anymore.
yes, yes. I miss Blockbuster, man.
Very badly.
You know,
Very
the
badly.
smell of it, the carpets,
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
You know, it was
Yeah.
exciting to go in there and see the new releases
Yes.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that, you know? I miss
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. And then,
yeah.
or when there was a movie that was big dropping that weekend and you knew every copy was out, and then somebody was walking in, returning it right when you were at the checkout, and you're like,
Yes, yes,
"Yeah,
yes,
yeah."
yes.
Those
Oh,
little things.
man.
Yeah.
Great memories, great memories.
Very
We'll
good
never
memories.
get a we'll never get that back, man. AI taking over everything, you
Absolutely it is.
know?
Absolutely is.
Yeah, so you grew up in
Excuse me.
you good. You grew up in Romulus, Michigan? Is it
Yes.
Romulus or Romulus?
Romulus, yeah, Romulus, right outside
Okay.
of Detroit.
Right outside Detroit. That's why I wanted to ask you, like, how was that environment? Was it like Detroit, like the suburbs of Detroit? Was it dangerous
Yeah.
like Detroit?
It's it's
Did,
it's
you
it's
know,
it's straight suburbs, right? Like Romulus and
mm,
Remus, who were the founders of Rome, that were birthed from a wolf, and they were little, so it's where the airport is actually located, right? So when they say Metro
uh,
Detroit Airport, that's actually where you land. You land in Romulus, right? It's
okay.
quiet. It's quiet town, USA. Regular, 9 to 5, blue class working town. Regular
Mm-hmm.
people. There's, nothing. I'm not gonna, sit back and say it's not. It's just a regular town, with great people. I still live about 25 minutes away from there right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what that did was it instilled in me that if you actually put your mind in good places, from my parents and my brother, that you can accomplish good things, right? And so it's funny because I have 3 daughters, and while they play sports, they're not obsessed with sports, right? And it's, I was obsessed with playing basketball. But, there's beauty in when like my oldest daughter downloads like a app that's a French app, right? And I'm like, wow, this girl downloaded Duolingo or Pimsleur and wants to actually learn French. I'm like, because I think like that DNA was kind of passed along, so to speak, and it kind of resonates with them because that's the things that they see even me talk about. And so that helps kind of like I kind of did my job a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's real. That's
You
real,
know,
man. And when you said Duolingo, and it just now I'm thinking random thoughts and stuff like that. I'm thinking about this chip that Elon Musk is I guess is in trial periods now. It's called
Mhm.
Neuro something.
I did hear about that. Yeah, it goes in your brain or something like that.
Yeah, it goes in your brain, but it's supposed to give you the ability for humans to be able to speak every language that they want.
Well, they can have thought that I'm sure it's a heck of a product. With all due respect, you're not cracking my head open.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Can you
it is.
imagine that?
Yeah, I mean, and there's people, there's neurologists and scientists that obviously are always people always look at the day, the week, and the month. Innovators and businesses and creators think decades in advance. They're always in, and I'm sure somewhere that there may be some value in that, but that's, and they obviously have researched that, but I'm sure somewhere that there's a person willing to see and put their livelihood on the line, their life on the line to see if it works.
Yes, yes. Okay, I'm looking at my dog. He's chewing on wires and stuff.
And that's all good.
He's yeah. You went to Michigan State University.
I did.
My
Yeah.
best friend will love that. He's Michigan all the way. You can't tell him nothing about anything in Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan is the greatest state ever,
Yeah.
according to him.
Yeah.
Anyway, what did college expose you to, that your hometown could not?
You find out you have a lot more free time on your hands that you didn't have before, right? So, like, and then you have to get out of your comfort zone. I would challenge everybody that even if it's not necessarily college, to take time away from your hometown to be experienced with different people, different cultures, different opinions, because whether you think they're valid or not, whether you think they're invalid or not, there is personal growth that takes place. And then you'll meet some people that you can make friends with your entire life. Most of the time, the people that you are friends with from, K through 8, K through 12, 85% of them you're not going to really talk to after you graduate from.
Right,
It's not
right,
because it's something mean, it's not because somebody did something, it's not because of a falling out, it's because life evolves in that direction. So
exactly.
so that's your second chapter. It doesn't have to be college, it can be create school. And I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed my college experiences. It could be the military, right? Whatever this
Mm-hmm.
next stage of life is, don't think that that's the only thing that the world has to offer to you.
Right. And that's powerful because sometimes growth, it isn't about becoming somebody different.
Mhm.
It's sometimes about realizing the world is bigger than a block, you
Yes.
know,
Yes.
bigger than that school, bigger than that city, bigger than that
Absolutely.
version of yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that's powerful, bro.
You don't
You know.
realize how minuscule your world truly is until you
Mm-hmm.
actually see everything else moving, irregardless of the world that you have come from, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think you're smart until you go to college and there's this 18-year-old that's already studying astrophysics. You're like, oh my God. Like, oh,
Wow.
and you're like, damn. I remember I went to an
Mm-hmm.
engineering camp when I was like 16. And I went to, it was at U of M, not Michigan State, the rival schools. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I didn't want to be an engineer. My parents made me go. And I'm like, yeah, real quick. I said, I can't hold. I knew at 16, 15, I'm like, I can't hold a candle to these kids. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have, first of all, I wasn't passionate about it. And second of all, their math and science aptitude was here and mine was down here.
Yeah, bro. I feel you to the
I was,
heart
I was
on
like,
that.
damn, it
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah.
You know,
I could completely understand. Trust me.
yeah,
Yeah, man, you gotta have me on your podcast, bro. I
I'm
got
looking
some
forward to it.
things to talk about.
Yeah, that's what I do this for. And it's funny because I'm not a guest enough on people's show, right? Because you can get caught up in just booking the next one, booking the next one, booking the next one.
Right,
And
right.
you never slow down and actually assess what you're doing, try to
Mhm,
actually formulate your thoughts, what's the next stage of evolution? Because to your point, everything can kind of autopilot. If you
mhm.
know that you can at least structure an interview, did I plateau just structuring interviews and not actually say, "Hey, I need to be a guest, pass knowledge on, and get my brand and my name out in other avenues by being a
Yeah,
guest"?
yeah.
It's and if you're doing it by yourself, it's not like you can tell your partner, like, "Hey, man, go be on here and expand the show."
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. Because 'cause I've been getting invites to be on people podcasts, and I'm just like, "I don't have the time. When do I
Yeah,
have the time?" And,
yeah.
I haven't been following them up, but,
It's
to get my message out there is
mhm.
probably a good idea?
You have to listen. It's such a crowded space, and sometimes it is, and it's competitive. And when we talked about that democratization, all you need is your cell phone. You could be in your car, you could be in your basement, you could be in a closet, you could do it on your lunch break from work. You don't
Yeah,
need to, the gatekeepers now to get to that next level. You may need like a network or something backing you, but the barrier to entry is very small, right?
yeah, yeah.
So in order to get that ecosystem where you are at the highest level, You
Yeah.
can't just be a host all the time unless you are a superb subject matter expert on a very high level requested topic. Like if you're the finance guru, if you're the fitness guru, then maybe you can go ahead and just be the host because people are looking to get a specific service from you because you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
specialized skill. But if you're me, where you're kind of just all over the place and, kind of like, you got to be a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's great. That's great insight and great advice. Yeah, I
Appreciate it.
needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your podcast is built around meaningful conversations. Let's be honest, Rashad. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they could podcast now, right?
Oh my gosh.
Everybody.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what separates a real conversation from two people just talking in the microphones?
It's funny because I think that because everybody thinks it's easy, this is what I learned. They said most people stop after 18 to 20 episodes. So if you can make it past 18 to 20, you're on to at least something of substance of some level. What that is, I don't know. But you do have to by centering my topics for me specifically around people who do and create, I get a chance to talk to you if you're an ex-military veteran who's now created a business, a dancer, actress, a CEO. If you built a Fortune 500 company, if you built a small business and now you have customers that are worldwide, if you're a consulting agency. So that allows me to keep the conversation flowing and interesting because everybody who has a business isn't on a billboard, isn't doesn't have 500,000 Facebook followers, but by
Exactly.
itself is a very successful business with a high level and high satisfied level of customers. You just have to seek those people out.
Right.
So that's what
Exactly.
that's what keeps my conversations, I think, to my best ability, fresh and innovative, I would hope.
Yeah, and let's be honest, a mic don't make you interesting, you know?
No, no, just like a mic don't make you a rapper. You better listen, man.
Right, right,
Everybody thinks they can sing, but like
right,
until you get a vocal coach, until you have to have breath control, until you have to structure songs, right?
right.
There's a million people out there that there's not a lot of people that can get people to listen to their music, pay to
Yeah,
listen, right? There's differences in that, right?
yes,
Right.
yes,
You know,
definitely. And in my opinion, a podcast only works when somebody, is willing to stop performing and actually say something true.
exactly. Exactly. And the other thing too about it is I had to learn there's a little timer that goes in my head. If I've talked more than 20 seconds, 25 seconds, shut up and let them talk. Right.
Let Yeah,
Yeah. And that's difficult because if you really want to ask a question, if you're really fascinated about something, I always say I pause. I said, hey, I'm sorry if I'm over talking you. I'll stop right now. So there's always a moment in my mind that I'm like, I need to make sure that they get adequate time for themselves to speak.
right, right. And I've had guests like apologize to me and say, sorry if I'm talking. I'm like, no, bro, go on. This is
Yes.
you. This is
Yes.
your interview,
Yes. Yes.
So
And
that's
a
what we
lot of
here for.
and people want to be validated. Even the most like it's so funny. Like you think of like an actor or actress or an NBA player, NFL athlete, and they're like, I always wanted that Oscar. Like, dude, you sell out. You sell millions of tickets. You made a $20 million movie salary. They're like, I always wanted that Oscar because I wanted that validation. You know, or if they won the Super Bowl but they didn't get the MVP, they'll be mad. You think Michael Jordan would have been happy if he didn't get Finals MVP? Like you really think like, hey, dude, you already won the championship. No, he would have been pissed. Now, there's levels to people. Like most of us will never touch that level of like we can't jump that high,
Man,
run that fast. That's God-given talent of 1 in a billion that ever exists. But having said all that,
man.
he wanted validation. I
Mhm,
am the MVP, right? So
mhm.
people who are interviewed, even if they have a great business and they don't know me from a hole in the wall, they want validation of what they did.
Right, right. I'm over here cracking up, bro. I have so much to say to you
Yeah, I
because
understand.
it's funny, man. It's funny
Yeah,
what you're saying because it's so true.
yeah, validation.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
why do you
You
exist? You don't.
interview
Yeah, go ahead.
Nah, go ahead.
You
Go
don't
ahead,
do
bro.
it.
Go ahead.
People don't do anything. They can say whatever they want. I don't care who you are from what walk in life. People want validation for what they did. They don't come on a podcast, have a successful business, and not get on your show when they have a business to run. They are perfectly
Mhm.
fine, doing the things that they do. They come on your show to be validated for what they did.
Yeah, yeah. It makes sense. Total sense.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I love it. What's the biggest lie people you think tell themselves before they take a risk?
They confuse a habit for hard work, right?
Mm.
So they
Go
confuse
into
that.
that.
Yeah. And listen, I won't say that unless I lived it myself, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's like working out. And I always use the example of working out. Just because you go to the gym doesn't mean you're all in on getting in shape. So that means that you have
Mm.
to eat right. That means you have to watch your calorie intake. That means you have to be conscious of whether or not there's the ice cream and Netflix or the treadmill downstairs seeing you in the face, right? I went to the gym. I go to the gym 3 or 4 days a week, but I haven't lost a pound. Okay. Ask yourself this one question. What are you eating? It's a very simple question, right? And
Mm.
and you're like, ooh, yeah, I had the bacon, sausage, eggs, and English muffin for breakfast. Well, that's your first mistake, right? That started like that's the beginning of your mistake. So that's already like almost 2,000 calories right there. Then you had for lunch whatever you had for lunch, and you had your snack. Then you had your dinner. Then you went to bed and had another snack. So you're already at 5,000 calories. I'm not hating. I'm not like I don't judge. That's not my.
Bro, you dropping science, bro.
You know what I mean? That's not what I do. I don't tell nobody what to do. You know what I mean? But having said all that, if your goal was to get down to a certain weight or look a certain way, the gym was only one portion of the equation. So, to your similar, when people want to start a business, just because I'm working hard at it, just because I'm taking time at it, doesn't mean I'm working hard on it, right? Am I willing to work on something when there's no immediate gratification? Am I willing to work on something when I'm by myself and it's 85 degrees outside and it's really nice and I would rather, be outside instead of sitting behind this laptop and working on something? That's when your real you is going to come out.
I think a lot of people say to themselves, I'm waiting for the right time, New Year's resolution, something like that.
Don't do it. You're lying to yourself. And it's coming from a
Yeah,
guy who lied to himself. I got a
yeah,
chance to go to Beverly Hills for a photo shoot. I started in my basement, and I'm not Joe Rogan status by any stretch of the imagination, but I've my show has climbed to where I get Fortune 500, I get CEOs that are reaching out to me. I got people that have been on the NASDAQ that have reached out to me. I got people that have been on Shark Tank that have reached out to me. It's not because I did anything special, it's because I stuck with it, right? Like,
yeah, discipline, bro.
and listen, for anybody, one of your listeners, it sucks sometimes. It's straight
Hmm.
up, honest to God, you are tired. You've done 2 shows. You're like, oh man, I got another email. I don't care who you are. If you're getting in shape, Tom Brady has been there, Peyton Manning's been there. They will tell you, like, getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get in shape was not easy, right?
Yeah,
Doing
yeah.
shows and episodes and recording and being prepared and editing and posting is not easy. It's very
Hmm.
difficult. But it's supposed to be. So my goal isn't to necessarily be the best show. My job is to outlast everybody who quit.
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
love it, man. You
Yeah.
dropping knowledge right now.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep it 100 right now. Like my thing was, I was waiting to feel fearless,
Yeah.
and I was
Hmm.
like, I realized after a moment that day it's not coming.
Never.
You got to
Never.
move scared sometimes.
Terrified. Terrified.
Yup.
My first goal when I first did because here's the thing, people always told me, hey man, you talk, or like, dang man, he's always talkative. That doesn't mean I was necessarily going to be a good host, right? Just because I like to ask a lot of questions or have a decent conversation doesn't mean you're camera ready. Doesn't mean you're interview ready. Doesn't mean you
Hmm.
can make a back and forth conversation seem natural
Talk,
and not and not
talk
s-
to
and
him.
not scripted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like it's almost like just because the rapper can freestyle doesn't mean he can make an album, right?
Mm.
I
What?
mean, it's true.
Talk to him.
You know what I mean? Like, how many
Yes.
guys were like, "Oh man, he's a great mixtape rapper," and then next you know, you're like, "Man, he don't know how to make songs, man."
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yup. You
sometimes
got to
he
be
had.
that entertainer too.
Yes, yes. And so now, you've heard stories where like guys were like, I had to learn how to write songs. I had to learn that it wasn't just rattle, rattle, rattle off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
no, you have to be compelling. You have to give something people to listen for. And now
Mhm.
with this era that we live in where you have like 6 seconds, 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention, if you
Mhm.
can't do that, they're going on to the next podcast. They're going on to the next YouTube video. They're going
Yes.
on to the next whatever it is
Mhm.
that they have at their disposal. Even the biggest of brands, your McDonald's, right? People see that line, Burger King is right next. Dang, I wasn't in the mood for Burger King, but it's cool. There's only 6 people there
Yup.
instead of 20,
Yup.
right?
Yup. Yep. You talking facts, man. Talking a lot of facts right now.
Yeah, if you want a need filled real quick and you just want
Hmm.
burger, fry, and shake, it doesn't really matter if it's McDonald's, maybe to the kid, the McDonald's experience, but to the dad or the mom behind the wheel on the road,
Hmm.
it's the same thing.
Same thing. Exact same thing. Yes, sir. I want to keep it. I want you to keep it real with right now, Rashad. I know you are, but you
Mhm.
don't have to answer this if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
your show has a lot of guests, but I
Right.
want to get into something, that podcast of the podcaster. What
Mhm.
kind of guests drains you?
Like I will say, I've had the fortunate distinct real talk. I don't. I have a decent vetting process without coming across as like rude. So I don't do like I do. I don't do religion or politics. So
Hmm.
that keeps that draining experience at bay, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
listen, if it's historical or if you have like your career intertwined with like a, something that involved that, like, hey, I was a rabbi but I became like, an excavator, or I was a curator at a museum, then that's something that's perfectly valid, right? But if you're going to talk about like, whether or not somebody's religious viewpoint is more valid than another one, or if you're trying to be like, this is the reason why I support this particular candidate or don't support this particular candidate, I don't do those episodes. I have no intention, like, because that in itself is a draining experience for me. I really like, these people spend all this time, people in general, on the internet arguing political opinions. It's like, you do realize they're never going to change their mind. Like, are
Hmm.
you fully understanding of that? And sometimes they're just trolling you because then that, and they would rather find joy in making you mad than actually having a valid opinion or point to be made, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not here and that's on any side of any thought that's made, period. So I don't, I stay away from it. I've told people before I don't do that because it's just not worth my time. And it's kept me kind of in that safe space because kind of selfishly, it's my show and I don't have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. That's why
Yeah.
I got to start thinking that way, man. I know exactly what you mean.
Can't do it. No,
Yeah.
but there's enough places for people to do that. There's enough valid shows like that, but I don't want, because here's what'll happen. Like, eventually, if you get big, they'll say, I heard that episode was such and such, and I have to say, refute that opinion. And then next, you could become a debate show. I don't want no parts of no debate show. I don't want to hear about anybody's, going back and forth and I'm the moderator. I'm not doing nothing like that.
Right, right, man.
No
Thank you
way.
for that. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I took that in because mine is that guest who answers every question like they reading a LinkedIn bio.
Yeah, that's
You
a rough
know,
one too. That's a rough
yeah.
one
You
too.
say what broke you, and they'll say, "Well, my mission statement is no, bro. Come back to earth. Come
You're
back
right.
to earth."
Right.
That
Yeah.
drives me nuts, man, and it drove me to the point where season 3, at the end of
Yeah.
season 3, I took a break.
I
I
understand.
said, "Man, I gotta, think of something, how to do something
Reprogram.
different. Yeah, reprogram. Imma start dropping seasons like
Yeah.
they do in TV series, if that's the
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
year after year."
The only reason I haven't done that, it's funny. Like, I'm still technically on season 1 and I'm like 205 episodes in, right? Not joking. Like, because like, it's weird because my biggest problem is I have a hard time saying no. Like, I'm guess in my mind, like, I'm concerned about momentum stall because I'm always like, man, they can always go somewhere else. Right. And there are some things I want the show to evolve into. Like, in a perfect
Mhm.
case scenario, I want to start getting live on site at businesses and be like, show me how this operates and functions for our audience. Let's do a live episode. Like, if you have like like a cylinder or some sort of, plant or facility or,
Mhm.
item that you want to deploy, let's do a special episode so that way we can broadcast this particular product or service in kind of a live setting, because that can push you past just being, doing a show,
Yes.
over a recording
Yes.
software.
Yes, yes.
You know,
That's what I'm leaning towards, doing in person
it's hard.
podcasting. Yeah,
It's hard. It's hard, man. Like, it's, you got the logistics of it are not easy unless you just
right.
happen to know that business owner right around the corner and you can just pop right in. But having said all that, it takes time. And,
It
if you're
does.
balancing life commitments and everything else and family, it's not, you may have to get a cameraman. So there's a lot of steps that are involved with stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. definitely. So on the flip side, what is the type of guest that surprises you in the best way?
Yeah. I think that when you find out, like, I literally just interviewed a woman that has her own consulting business. She had a lifetime presidential achievement award, and her father was a Buffalo Soldier. So it was like amazing. She's been to Korea. And unless you get the bio of these people, there are people that have accomplishments that are just absolutely amazing that may not have a Wikipedia page. Her name's Luana Bradford, so I want to make sure that I say her name on your show. But just because they're not, in your immediate Google search doesn't mean they don't have plaques on their walls. A big
Right.
major, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of doing podcasting and connecting with people, because sometimes when you see what people have accomplished, it makes you step your game up. And you'll be like, you know what?
Yeah.
Okay. I got to be on point. Like, you interview people and you be like, damn, they really got something going. I better be prepared on this interview because,
Mm-hmm.
when you start interviewing CEOs and head high level people, you got to know two things. They don't give their time to everybody, and you better be prepared.
Right. Yup. Definitely.
You
And
know,
those are the ones I love too, A person when they drop, you don't know, you read it, you read their bio and everything, you do a little research, but then they drop something,
yeah,
that just makes you like wow, just
yeah,
astonished. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I love those people.
Oh, yeah. And,
Yeah.
and it's tough to really like understand sometimes, why did you reach out to me? Like, when they get on, you're like, what, out of all the things that I ask them sometimes, why did you want to be on my show? And they're like,
Yeah.
you were fascinating, and I heard listened to a couple things you said, and you're like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll never get egotistical, that people want to be on my show, because listen, man, they can be doing a lot of other different things other than talking to a stranger they just met, and listen to a couple things and kind of felt like there was a good connection.
Yeah. And that's when your conversations found blood.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I dig it, man. I dig it. And as a host, have you ever been in an interview where you thought, no,
No. Yeah.
this is going nowhere?
Yeah, I had one. For the sake of privacy, I won't mention the person's
Yeah,
name.
yeah, of course.
I kind of knew when I took the booking. I did it to myself, but I was like, okay, I'll give this one a shot. And then about 20 minutes into it, when they kept talking and kept talking, I was like, man, this is a rough one. And then they could they couldn't get the hint that I was trying to off ramp the conversation, right?
Right, right.
Just because I'm like, number one, I could never get a word in. Number two, it just kept kind of rambling. I'm like, yeah, this is a rough one, but again, I'm my own worst judge, because my own worst critic, because I had a responsibility to say no. That was my fault.
Right,
It wasn't
right.
their fault.
Yeah, you said you have a problem saying no.
I did. Yep.
That's me too.
Yep.
I completely get
And I
That's
said,
hilarious.
I was like, I was just like, man. I remember after it got over, I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
So,
completely understand.
and it
That's
wasn't because,
hilarious.
it just wasn't a good fit. It wasn't, it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
me. It wasn't that particular
yeah,
person. They weren't mean. It just was like, man, this is really not my cup of tea.
yeah. And you sitting there smiling,
Yeah.
nodding, but inside you like fighting for your life.
And yeah, and and one of the things is that, but I can tell you one thing: some of the greatest reporters that ever existed will probably say afterwards, like, man, I probably shouldn't have did that one. So if I could say, it's almost like bless his soul, Charlie Murphy. What they said one time, he did an interview when he was alive, and he said he was complaining he got booed, and he said he was talking to his brother Eddie, and Eddie was like, "Who the heck do you think you are?" He was like, "Charlie Murphy." He's like, Richard Pryor got booed, I got booed, and he listed all the great comedians. He's like, so you better deal with it. So like,
Right.
anytime you going through it to try to actually accomplish something, the people at the top of the mountain went through it. So you can't sit back and be like, oh man, this ain't never happened to nobody. I don't know where I'm going here. Tom Brady got picked as one of the dead last picks in the draft, right? You think that guy didn't have a chip on his shoulder?
And look at that.
Right. Peyton Manning was the number one pick, and he was flopping for the first 5 or 6 years in his playoffs. And then finally, like, he finally put it together. But people don't remember all the flops. They only remember the 2 Super Bowl rings now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
People don't
definitely.
remember that Tom Brady was the last pick. All they remember he's the GOAT. So, but
Right.
they went through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the guy dead last to the guy that's first. So,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you got to go through it, man.
So tell me, Rashad, put me on, man. Like, how do you save a dead conversation?
You know, that's like an
Give
interesting
me a
question.
give me a technique.
It's humor,
Humor.
and regardless of whether, make sure you listen because sometimes you can reference something back from the beginning because it's very easy to check out mentally when the conversation is going nowhere, and then there's that dead space. But if you remembered something from the very beginning, you'd be like, man, that kind of reminded me what you said earlier, and then it kind of like fills that gap, and then you could be like, okay, well, maybe this wasn't the most compelling interview, but at least I didn't disrespect them. Right. In all
Yeah.
seriousness, I don't ever want in the small world eco space that I take up, I don't want nobody feeling disrespected on my show.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because when you start, I don't ask them, personal questions. They feel like revealing it, cool. But like the, the key is really just to operate in good faith. Right. Just to
Yeah.
operate
Yeah.
in basic good faith. And if you don't know what that is, then that's something that you just don't need to be doing. Operate in good faith. Answer the questions of what they had on their bio, go into there. And then the second stool to it is I don't look into like anything deeper. I'll watch like their YouTube clips. I'll watch how they speak, what they said in the sentence.
Mm,
That helps those dead gaps too, because maybe they were at a TED talk. Maybe they did a public conference. So you can reference that inside of the actual conversation you're having to let them know that they are interesting to you for the time that they did carve out of their schedule.
yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, you got to
I
do it.
was, yeah. And humor is great, because sometimes the best thing you could do is humor
Absolutely.
and do
Right.
something humorous and human and,
Yeah.
kind of, take that edge off. I
Absolutely.
agree.
And I think too is that when you build up enough of a library, sometimes people kind of see what your style is. You're not confrontational, you're not probing, asking any personal questions. They kind of get a feel of who you are and where you're coming from, and so they kind of feel comfortable talking to you, right?
Yeah, bro. I've been waiting I gotta ask you about Tang Soo Do. Is
Yes,
it
yeah.
Tang Soo Do or
Tongue
Tang
tongue
Soo Do?
tongue pseudo. Tongue pseudo.
Tang Soo Do, black
Yeah.
belt.
Yeah, thank you.
This guy, guys, he practices martial arts.
Yeah.
Rashad,
Yeah.
you would just kick my butt up and down the street.
I don't
I
look for
just
I'm not trying to fight. I'm not trying to fight nobody, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
but just like I was
Yeah.
looking when I see your picture, I did not until I started reading your bio and stuff. I was
Yeah.
like, you wouldn't. I couldn't tell you,
Yeah.
it was a black belt in taekwondo, a brown belt in taekwondo, and all
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and you train in Brazilian
J-
jiu-jitsu
And Muay
and Muay
Thai.
Thai.
Yeah. Well,
That's bro.
yeah, appreciate
Where
that.
did you have the time? Like, how did you like?
Yeah.
How has martial arts shaped the way you handle life and everything like that?
Well, two things before we get off of who I can and can't beat up. I'm not a pro fighter. I'm not an amateur. I've done tournaments though. I used to do tournaments all the time when I was in college when I was doing taekwondo.
Hmm.
Right. So won a couple medals, right? Just local regional ones and stuff like that. One was kind of a state level one, but I did really well in that. But let me preface with this. Most people who are talented in martial arts do not look like the guy that can really like do damage to you, right?
Right, right, right.
I have trained with people where you'd be like, "Are you serious? You can really do that?" So
Right.
I got into martial arts. I used to play basketball all the time. My brother got me into martial arts, right? So we watched like the Van Damme movies, the Bruce Lee movies, all that. So he got into it at about age 11, 12. I got into it about age 8, 7, somewhere around there. For about 7 or 8. I did it for about 2.5 years. But then I was like, I'm going back to playing basketball. I'm a kid because team sport, everybody thinks that's the Jordan era where you think you're actually going to be something in basketball. Full
Yeah.
disclosure, I didn't
Yeah,
amount to
yeah,
anything. So
yeah.
then I get to college and you have that free time we talked about earlier on hands. I said, man, I kind of enjoyed martial arts. And then I was like, man, let me get back into it. So then I got back into it in my freshman year, really like started to fall back in love with it. Did tournaments through college, did taekwondo, got my brown belt in college, graduated, life happens, then fatherhood. And then I'm like, now you're back to being a little bored again. And you're like, I got to get something that I can get myself back into. There was a Tung Sudo. Tung Sudo is actually the original art. Taekwondo branched off from Tung Sudo.
Okay,
Right. So,
okay.
right. They wanted to unify. It's funny we talked about Korea earlier. There were 9 kwans, which were 9 martial arts style. They wanted to unify one specific style in Korea. But Grandmaster Hwang Ki, who created Tong Sudo, said, "I decline. I don't want to make this a national sport." So the original sports, the original style stayed in Tang Soo Do while everybody else did Taekwondo. So I found a Tang Soo Do school that was actually right around the corner from my house, which was cool because it was similar to what I was doing before, which was on my feet, striking, kicks as punch, joint locks, elbows, etc. It's karate, right? Kind of like Shotokan karate.
Right, right.
So it took me a while to get my black belt in that, but like anything else, I wanted to learn other things. I had practiced intermittent styles in between then, and then I was like, okay, I've never really been on the ground. So when I was in college, I did a semester of judo, and I was like, oh my God, I got absolutely
Damn.
annihilated. It was brutal. Because I didn't wrestle, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so then I'm just getting murdered on the ground. So then I was like, let me branch off into jujitsu. I'm not great at it. I haven't been in a couple months, but I was practicing pretty heavily for about 3 years. The place is still right around the corner from my house. I just haven't been there since like March. Life and everything else that happens. My kids
Right,
have
right.
a lot of activities. And then in
Yeah.
between then, I was doing Muay Thai too, the Thailand style where it's the elbows and knees. So long story short, I've just always been a martial arts freak.
And that's fascinating, man. Like what was first and what did you do after? Like tell
Yeah.
me the
The order.
the order that you did it in.
Taekwondo first was my
Okay.
first introduction when I was 7, 8, 9 years old. Taekwondo in college. Tang Soo Do when I was about 30. Actually, in between then, I did boxing for a little bit, like in my early 20s, just trained, nothing serious. There was a gym. Then in my 30s, when I was getting a little more serious back into it, wanted to get my black belt because I always trained with black belts, but I never got
Mm,
mine myself. So then I got back into Tang Soo Do. My brother was training in a Japanese style. He had his black belt in Ishinryu, and a good friend of ours co-owned the gym that I would train with them in between in my 20s. I would train with them. So then in between then, I did like a Filipino style, like it's called Panatukan. So really, short story, Taekwondo, Tang Soo Do, then Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, then Muay Thai, and boxing in between.
bro.
Yeah.
That's amazing, bro. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah.
And just a random thought, when Muay Thai, I was in Thailand one time and I was at a bar and they had in Pattaya, Thailand, and it's like a outdoor, indoor type of bar,
Hmm.
and they have a Muay Thai ring in the middle of the bar, and they
Wow.
got the bar that it kind of
Oh my
it's like in
gosh.
a box.
Yeah.
It's kind of like in a square, and the ring is
Mm.
inside, and they would have these little dudes in there just beating the crap out
Killers.
of each other.
Killers.
Yes,
Killers.
yes,
Str-
yes, bro.
str-
Killers.
Straight killers. Like
Yeah,
they
blood flying everywhere, people cheering, and they just kicking each other. They're killing each other.
you have not, like I do. That's the part where I said there's levels, right? Like I'm good enough to defend myself against somebody that's trying to do me harm in an everyday activity. I'm good enough. I've trained with people who would like do high level amateurs or trying to aspire to be pros. And at some point, and I'm not up leveling my skills on any level. I can hang in a touch and go session, like that.
Right, right.
If they turn it up, I don't have that gear.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I don't have
yeah,
that gear. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm good enough to be competent. I'm good enough to like give you some reps. But if you're trying to, I'm not in my 20s where I was really like heavily doing tournaments all the time. When I was doing
yeah,
tournaments in my 20s, in college, like I got really intense. At this point, man, I'm 43. I don't want a broken nose. I don't
yeah,
want broken ribs.
yeah, yeah,
Like I'm on the other side of the fence. Keep in
yeah,
shape and maintain what I got and try not to lose anything.
yeah. That's why I respect martial arts, man.
Yeah.
It humbles people.
Listen, and here in full disclosure for people who are listening on this show, not one is more superior than other. Just take something as a get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
Don't be dismissive. I don't, jujitsu's better than there are, or karate's better. All you have to do is be able to stop somebody from doing you harm in the quickest manner possible and then leaving as quickly as possible from it.
as quickly as possible.
That's it.
Because you could be loud, successful, whatever, and somebody folds you up like laundry.
And full disclosure, man, that's in the back of my mind too, because like the nondescript dude that you don't know that's really like, I'm telling you, I've trained with dudes that literally look like the Todd the accountant on the third floor. And you be
Yeah,
like, and then next, they've got you triangle choked and stuff. You be like,
yeah,
oh my, so I don't play those games. And then I'm not trying to get world starred. I'm not,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, you know.
Yeah, man, that's funny. I got a funny question. Like, what's worse, getting caught in a chokehold or editing a bad episode?
Yeah, it's I would say editing a bad episode because a chokehold, like I mean, I always say that because when you do a bad when you do a bad episode, you're like, man, I made somebody look bad. You're getting choked
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
Anybody, I would never train with anybody at all who said they've never been clipped or choked out. I won't do it because I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
because it's impossible. You
Right,
mean to tell
right.
me in all your years of training, you never took a flush punch in the
Never.
face, you never got choked out, you never got like somebody was giving you the business. It's
Mhm.
statistically impossible.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
Right. And at least a chokehold, you could tap out, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But
Amazing. And listen, I've been put to sleep. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and you just
yeah,
wake up, you be like, "That's the name of the
yeah.
game, baby."
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Winding it down. Winding
Mhm,
it down. I still
mhm.
have, man. We got to do a part two,
I'd love to.
man. I gotta. Yeah.
I'd love to.
I got so many questions, man. Like your podcast is built around curiosity.
Mhm,
In today's world, people don't always, want curiosity.
mhm.
All right. They want arguments,
Oh my
clips,
gosh.
drama, hot takes.
Of course.
You see it on Instagram, man. You see it
Yeah.
on Instagram.
Right.
So, how do you stay curious in a culture that rewards outrage?
That's a very, very good question. And I would say that be authentically you, right? Like people who actually have been around me. I'm not saying I haven't had a blow up. I'm not saying I haven't been upset, but I'm not that kind of person. Right. So for me to get up and be frothing at my mouth and screaming on Instagram or TikTok or whatever platform, that's not my authentic self. Like that's not the kind of person, an image that I project privately or publicly about myself. So it would be inauthentic for me to like listen, if you can be Drewski, if you can be Jake Paul, because that's who those people really are in their entertainment realms, and they're wildly successful from it. But then you try to start people who try to mimic that, and that's not who they really are.
Yeah, yeah,
Like be yourself. And too often, like when you watch like these debate shows, they'll have the person that is there just to be the pain in the butt. Not because they actually have I've seen clips, I don't watch, but they don't actually have an opinion. They're just like, yeah, my job is to be up here and just, and argue and do nothing else because it makes for good TV. Like,
yeah, bro.
it's not authentic. It's not authentic.
Yeah, yeah. Because everybody just want to go viral.
That's
That's
it.
what it is.
That's it.
Nobody wants to be valuable. Just go viral.
Right.
That's all that, and it's all negativity. It drives me crazy. And sometimes the most valuable conversation is not the loudest one.
Without
You
question.
know,
Without question.
it's crazy, man.
And sometimes it's very hard to actually acknowledge the fact that the noise around me is just that, right?
Right.
And I think that the lane that you cultivate, the lane that I cultivate, people are kind of starving for that because they're sitting back and say, what did yelling actually accomplish on the internet, right? What did that actually accomplish, right? Are you building a long-term brand or are you building an outrage machine is the question.
Right, right. And I built the app actually. Is the War Network, and
Mhm,
it's aimed towards positivity, the exact opposite of
mhm.
what's on Instagram. I built it in April. It got about 100 people that's on
Good,
it right now. But
good.
we'll see where it goes, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, all this negativity out there
It's
is just
terrible.
is
It's
terrible.
exhausting.
Yeah.
It's
Very
exhausting.
exhausting.
Yeah, I just don't
Yes.
entertain. I don't entertain it, man. It's not worth my time.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a saying I live by. I don't crash into anything I don't allow in my airspace.
I love that. Say that again.
I don't crash into anything I don't allow in my airspace.
Okay, okay.
Oh,
Dash Rashad Woods. I love that.
thank you.
I love that. Do you think men are afraid of vulnerability, bro? Like, or are we afraid of being judged after we open up?
I think we've gotten better at it, right? I think, like as I think when more powerful people have said that they struggle with things, right? And, it's okay to sit back and say that this is bothering me. I think male loneliness is a real thing because typically, men don't have a lot of friends for the most part at a certain age, and then they just kind of have to be the breadwinner and the provider. And they kind of just have to put their emotions at bay because that's how society has kind of always viewed men. So to a degree, I agree, yes. But I think the internet has allowed people to reach out.
Yeah, bro. Like when I learned how to overcome that and be vulnerable, it
Mhm.
actually took a program for me to learn how to do that. I'm
Right.
not gonna lie. It took professional help.
Good.
And when I learned how to, be vulnerable, everything in my world opened up. I felt
Yeah.
so much better, like this huge monkey came off my back.
Right.
you know?
Right. And
So
then
I just want people out there, to men especially, to know it's okay. Try it, you know?
absolutely. Yeah. And it's nothing wrong with falling on your face and trying something. And at the end of the day, like, listen, the people that are making fun of you that, would never step out of their comfort zones to do anything.
Right,
Never.
right,
Point blank
right,
period.
right. So give me your Mount Rushmore things you could talk about for hours.
Goodness. Curiosity, comic book adaptation movies in general, and then kind of history, right? Not in a judgmental way, but just of how events unfold, right? Why did this
Yeah.
take place? Who ruled this area of the earth? Why is this area in strife with another? What really caused the how did this place get built up? I could talk about stuff like that ad nauseum.
And what can you debate all day and not get tired of?
Boy, debates are exhausting.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know, I know,
yeah,
I know. Especially the ones about religion and
yeah.
politics.
Would say more of like the like kind of like the food in America or how things were built. Like if they do like the aqueducts in like Rome or like especially like how foods were created, how languages passed across, not so much a debate, but how one thing led to another. Like, how this trading post eventually led to like Silk Road, all those things. I have a limit of how much I can actually debate somebody's opinion because I at some point I'm just like deuces, man.
Yes, 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 exactly. I just stay out of debating, man.
I don't blame you.
I'm just, yeah. I have already have. It took me a while to work on my short attention span, and
Yeah.
so I'll be honest. It took me a while,
Yeah.
but I just can't. I don't have
It's
the. I
exhausting.
just, yeah,
No.
I don't have the bandwidth for it, man.
Yeah.
And before we wrap it up, man, I want to give you your flowers
No, I
because
appreciate that.
this was a excellent, interview,
Thank
getting to
you.
know you. You know what I'm saying? And you
Yeah.
gave me a good insight on things
Appreciate it.
that I've very, taken in. I'm gonna apply to my podcast,
Mhm. Thank
and
you.
and plus, because hosting is not easy.
Heck, it's rough, man. It really
Rough.
is,
Building something from nothing is not easy.
at
Staying
all.
curious in this world
Mhm.
full of noise is not easy.
Right.
You know.
It's
So
supposed to be
what?
hard.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Last question: what do you want people to feel when they finish listening to you?
That I was worthy of their time and attention, right? And so that whatever episode you put on, it's not gonna make you start gripping your steering wheel, that SOB, or hey, you can hate watch me because if you tune in, I'm not mad at you if you hate watch me, but I want them to sit back and say that if they took something that they didn't know before and there was a passion that they could pursue because I had a particular guest on the show, then I'm glad I did my job.
Oh, thank you for that, man. I respect it.
Yeah,
That's a mission
yeah.
because people, man, I hate watching though, bro. I have you got any hate
Actually,
messages or anything
no,
yet?
it's kind of
No.
weird, right? I've been, no, I never, if somebody did, maybe they deleted it,
Hmm.
but I haven't been review bombed yet. Like I'm prepared. I'm always prepared for like the floor to fall out on it, right? Because at
Yeah,
some point I'm waiting for like somebody to trash me because then I have to be able to take it, right? So even though I'm not anticipating it, not everybody's gonna love you, and maybe some people turned it off and they were like, I'm not even leaving a review because that was totally uninteresting to me. But that's part of the game we play, baby.
man. I said that was the last question, but I just thought of another one.
Hmm.
Because this is very interesting. When people hear your name years from now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
What do you
yeah.
want them to say Rashad Woods stands for or
Well,
stood for?
that's deep. That's deep. That he made a conscious effort to make you think more outside of the box than you did before you tuned in. That you left more curious than when you came on. That's
Mm,
if I say I accomplished that, then I won.
that's powerful, man. That's powerful. Rashad, man, I appreciate you coming through and kicking off,
Yeah, thank you.
season 4 with me. This conversation was random,
Absolutely.
deep,
That's yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it was funny, it was honest, and
yeah,
exactly what it needed to be. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
It's
Of course.
therapy
So,
for me.
all things in between. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yes, sir. And everybody listening, go check out Rashad Woods on T.R.O.N, T.R.O.N podcast, The Randomness of Nothing.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
tell anywhere else people can find you at, brother.
All major social media platforms. I'm the worst social media person in the world, right? Like, but other than that, like, yeah, Apple, Spotify, all the major streaming platforms the show is on.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for being here.
Mhm.
And to the people out there, remember, this is war. You know, we are not here to look perfect. We are here to tell the truth, laugh through chaos, and keep reaching people.
Thank you.
All right? It's war. Each one reach one. We're all recovering. Peace.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.